This is a rare Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, manuscript handwritten in Ethiopia's sacred lurggical language. Everything you think you know about the resurrection is missing pieces. For nearly 2,000 years, the world was told. The story ended at the empty tomb. Stone rolled away. Silence. Credits roll. But that ending was never universal. Thousands of miles from Rome. Deep. The stone monasteries of Ethiopia. The monks protected a different record. An ancient Bible with 81 books. Not 66 pages. The West never read words, never preached. Inside those forgotten pages is a resurrection passage that doesn't just describe what happened after Jesus rose. It explains what changed. Not just death, not just heaven, but the nature of God, the purpose of the soul, and humanity's direct access to truth. These words were preserved beyond councils, beyond edits, beyond control hidden, until now. And before we reveal what this translation actually says, hit like and subscribe, because this is the kind of knowledge some people don't want you hearing. 81 books that rewrite the story. Most people think the Bible is fixed, final, untouchable. Ethiopian Orthodox Church never agreed. While the Western Bible stopped at 66 books, Ethiopia preserved 81. 15 more. Then Protestants ate more than so says. Catholics, and these aren't random, add-ons. They're some of the oldest Christian texts ever used. Early believers long before they were quietly dropped in the West. Books like Enoch Jubilees and Maccabe's. For centuries, Western scholars mocked them as myths. Then science stepped in. Radiocarbon dating of the Gora Gospels, discovered in an Ethiopian monastery, proved they were written between 330 and 650 AD, making them the oldest. Illustrated Christian manuscripts on Earth. While Europe fell into chaos, Ethiopian monks were preserving Christianity's original source code. And what's inside these books is explosive. The Book of Enoch doesn't just say, humanity sinned before the flood. It explains why. It describes a cosmic breach. 200 watcher angels descending to Earth, taking human wives and creating hybrid beings called the Nephilim, giants who devoured the world. It names Samyaza Eazel Burkil. It says they taught forbidden knowledge, weapon-making, seduction, astrology. This wasn't disobedience, it was unauthorized knowledge. That's why the Roman Church rejected it. The world Enoch describes as chaotic, dangerous, and uncontrollable, so it was removed. Ethiopia kept it. And Enoch is just the opening act. The real shock is a resurrection text called Mashafakan, the Book of the Covenant. In Western tradition, Jesus appears briefly after rising. In Ethiopian tradition, he stays 40 days and he teaches not. Sermons instructions. He describes hidden structures of reality, knowledge, that bypasses religious hierarchy. He speaks of nature frequencies, spirits, and an end times conflict that isn't fought with armies, but with awareness. It's mystical, urgent, empowering. And Ethiopian monks believe something radical, that the 81 books are the narrow gate, while the 66-book Bible is the wide path simplified for the masses. If they're right, then the Bible, most of them, the world reads isn't complete, it's censored. And now as these texts are translated and released, the seal is broken. These aren't safe stories anymore. They're raw files. And if giants and fallen angels sound unbelievable, wait until you hear what Jesus actually said during those 40 hidden days. Decoding the 40-day secret message. In the standard Gospel of Luke, the time between the resurrection and the ascension is a blur. But in the Ethiopian Mashafakan, it is the main event. This is the moment the safety rails comes off. According to these texts, the risen Christ gathers his disciples not just to comfort them, but to prepare them for a spiritual war. He speaks of the builder of shadows, a concept that will blow your mind. Explains that the material world, the world of money, status, and physical empires, is largely the playground of a deceptive force. He tells them, do not build temples of stone, for the stone will crumble. Build the temple of the Shankt. Heart for it is eternal. This might sound like a nice metaphor, but in the context of the Ethiopian text it is a literal command. He is warning them against organized religion. He predicts that men will wear long robes and use his name to hoard gold. He specifically warns against a future Rome that will turn his cross into a sword. The specificity is what terrifies scholars. It is almost as if he is looking 2,000 years into the future and seeing the Crusades, the Inquisitions, and the megachurches. He tells the Shiite disciples that the true believer must be a stranger to the systems of men. But here's the catch. He introduces a dualistic view of this human soul that is almost biological. He spit thus. Yes. Every human has two winds blowing through them. The wind of life and the wind of error. The wind of error isn't just bad thoughts. It is described like a parasite. It enters through greed through the eyes when they look at what they shouldn't, and through the mouth when it speaks. Lies. Once this wind gets in, it calcifies the heart. It turns a living human into what he calls a walking tomb. Think about that for a second. A walking tomb. A person who breathes, eats, and posts on social media. But spiritually, they are already gone. It's a zombie apocalypse, but for the soul. And here's the shocking part. He gives them the antidote. It isn't a tithe or a ritual. It is gnosis, knowledge. He teaches them to watch their thoughts like a guard. Well, watches as a gate. He teaches them that the kingdom of heaven is literally inside their own body, hidden in the silence between thoughts. This is why the Roman Empire had to suppress this text. Rome needed obedient citizens who feared the emperor and the pope. They didn't need self-aware mystics who believed the church was unnecessary. Because if you believe God is inside, you don't pay taxes to the temple. You don't bow to the bishop, you become uncontrollable. The Book of the Covenant also contains bizarre cosmological details. He speaks of the storehouses of snow and the gates of the winds. For a long time, people thought this was poetic nonsense, but modern meteorology confirms that weather patterns move in global currents, literal rivers of wind. How did a text from 2,000 years ago know about the atmospheric dynamics of the planet? He also speaks of an abyss of water beneath the earth. Again, modern science recently discovered a massive ocean of water trapped in ringwoodite rock deep within the Earth's mantle. More water than in all the surface oceans combined. The Ethiopian Bible was right. There is an abyss of water beneath us. These wow factors add a layer of credibility that is hard to ignore. If the text was right about the water and the winds, could it also be right about the spiritual parasite? The tone of these 40 days is urgent. This is not the turn the other cheek vibe of the Sermon on the Mount. This is the tone of a general giving a final briefing before leaving the battlefield. He tells them the darkness will come and it will wear my face. That is the scariest line in the book. It will wear my face. He is predicting that the ultimate evil will not look like a monster. It will look like Christianity. It will look like a savior. It will deceive the world by appearing exactly like the thing it is, trying to destroy. This lines up perfectly with Antichrist theories, but it makes them far more subtle and dangerous. It suggests the deception is already here, baked into the institutions we trust. But he didn't just leave them with warnings, he left them with a weapon. A secret practice known only to the inner circle, involving the control of breath and the focus of the mind. Similar to advanced meditation practices found in the East, this connects to the Isa theory, the idea that Jesus spent his lost years in India or Tibet. The teachings in the Ethiopian Bible are strikingly Eastern. Karma, reincarnation, inner energy centers. It's all there disguised in ancient terminology. So we have a secret book, a warning about a false church, and instructions on how to unlock inner power. But if Jesus left, where did the physical proof of his power go? The answer lies in a small stone chapel that no one is allowed to enter. Why Hitler empires and secret orders never got it? You can't talk about Ethiopia without talking about the Ark of the Covenant. Movies say it was lost in Egypt. Ethiopians say that's nonsense. Nearly every Ethiopian believes the Ark is still here, locked inside the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, in the ancient city of Exum. And this isn't folklore, it's the backbone of their entire civilization. The story begins with the Queen of Sheba. She travels to Jerusalem, meets King Solomon, and returns home carrying his son Menelik I. Years later, Menelik visits his father. Solomon offers him the throne. Menelik refuses, but he doesn't leave empty-handed. According to Ethiopia's royal chronicle, the Kebra Nagast Menelik and his companions pull off history's boldest switcheroo, replacing the Ark with a replica and secretly carrying the real one to Ethiopia. And the Ark isn't just a gold box. Biblical descriptions paint it as a weapon burning armies, unleashing fire, killing anyone who got too close. The effects sound eerily modern, like radiation. Here's where it gets unsettling. The Ark's guardian today, only one man at a time, is forbidden to leave the chapel for life. Visitors say these guardians develop cataracts, lose their sight, their skin pales, and they often die young. Why would a wooden chest do that? Unless it isn't just wood. Some believe the Ark is ancient high-energy technology. Others say it's a communication device, something far older than religion itself. Whatever it is, Ethiopia has guarded it for 3,000 years and defended it. Ethiopia is the only African nation never colonized. When Italy invaded in 1896 with modern weapons, Ethiopian forces somehow crushed them at the Battle of Adwa. Locals say St. George rode with them. Others whisper something darker, that the Ark was brought near the battlefield, releasing a blinding light that turned the tide. Even secret orders knew. The Knights Templar traveled to Ethiopia in the 12th century hunting the Ark. Their symbols are still carved into the stone churches of La Abella. They knew the Grail wasn't a cup, it was a bloodline, and the Ark was proof. Ethiopia's emperors ruled through the Solomonic dynasty for nearly 3,000 years, claiming direct descent from Solomon and from the line of David. Meaning while Europe worshipped Jesus as a distant god, Ethiopia was ruled by his relatives. If the Ark is real, and if it's in Axum, then biblical authority doesn't point to Rome. It points to a quiet town in Africa. And the mystery goes deeper. South of Axum, entire churches were carved straight down into solid rock, not built, excavated. Locals say humans worked by day and angels finished the job at night. The laser-cut churches of the 1200s. Welcome to Labella. This is the place that makes archaeologists scratch their heads and then give up. In the 12th century, King Labella ordered the construction of 11 churches, but he didn't hire masons to stack bricks. He ordered them carved directly out of solid volcanic rock. We're not talking about caves. We're talking about massive, intricate cathedrals, complete with windows, doors, columns, and drainage systems carved from a single piece of stone. It's a negative sculpture. You have to visualize the entire building in 3 dimensions, then remove everything that isn't the church. One mistake, one cracked pillar, and the entire project is ruined. You can't glue rock back on. And here's the insane part. They say it was done in just 24 years. Modern engineers have run the numbers. To carve these 11 churches using hand tools, chisels, and hammers would take 40,000 men more than a century, and the debris removal alone would require fleets of trucks. Yet there is no evidence of the debris. Millions of tons of rock simply vanished. The local legend is a serious wow factor. The monks say that human workers toiled during the day, but at night angels came down and continued the work. They say the angels worked twice as fast as the men and used tools of light that sliced through volcanic rock like butter. Tools of light. Does that sound like a chisel to you, or does it sound like directed energy technology? Some theorists suggest that the Ark of the Covenant was brought to Laella during this time and used as a power source, or even as a tool to soften the stone. There are ancient accounts in other cultures of stone being softened using sound frequencies or chemical compounds. Could the Ethiopians have possessed a lost technology? The Church of St. George is the most famous of them all. It is shaped like a perfect cross, dug deep into the ground. The roof sits at ground level. You look down into it. The precision is almost laser perfect. The drainage system is so advanced that even after 800 years of torrential rain, the church has never flooded. And then there are the tunnels. Beneath the complex is a labyrinth of pitch black tunnels, meant to symbolize the descent into hell. Candidates for the priesthood must navigate these tunnels in total darkness, feeling their way along the walls for hours while chanting. It is a sensory deprivation chamber built entirely of stone. This connects directly back to the Book of the Covenant and its teachings about the darkness of the tomb. The architecture reinforces the theology. You must walk through the darkness to find the light. But recently, 3D laser scans of the site revealed something else. Anomalies beneath the floor. Hollow spaces that haven't been opened in 800 years. What's down there? The priests say it is the treasury of the saints. Gold manuscripts, or perhaps the very tools used to build the place. The world is obsessed with the pyramids of Egypt, but La Bella is arguably more complex. The pyramids are stacked blocks. La Bella is subtraction. It requires a level of planning so precise, it suggests a computer-like mind. What most people don't realize is that King Labella spent time in Jerusalem before it fell to Muslim rule. He wanted to build a new Jerusalem in Africa, safe from the endless wars of the Middle East. He even named the river flowing through the town the River Jordan. He wasn't just building churches. He was building a bunker, a spiritual fortress designed to preserve the faith when the rest of the world was burning. And it worked. While European cathedrals were bombed during the World Wars, Labella remained untouched. But the stone holds one more secret. The symbols carved into the walls include the Star of David the Cross and the swastika, an ancient symbol of the sun long before it was corrupted by the Nazis. It shows a fusion of faiths, a connection to the East, and a sacred geometry aligned with the stars. The Ethiopians didn't just preserve books, they preserved knowledge of how to manipulate matter itself. But the ultimate secret isn't about rocks or boxes. It's about blood. The hidden bloodline no one talks about. In the West, Jesus stands alone. No wife, no children, no family line. The story ends at the cross. But in the East, and especially in Ethiopia, that idea makes no sense. Family is everything. Ethiopia's Solomonic dynasty didn't rule for a century or two. It ruled for nearly 3,000 years. From around 900 BC until 1974, one royal line held the throne. The last emperor, Haile Selassie, was the 225th ruler in that chain, known as the Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. That title isn't symbolic. It's a legal claim to King David's bloodline. Follow that lineage, and it doesn't just tie Ethiopia to the Old Testament. It creates an uncomfortable overlap with the New. If Mary belonged to the house of David, and Ethiopia's kings claimed the same house, then they weren't strangers. They were family. That's why Rastafarians saw Haile Selassie as the returned Messiah. Revelation speaks of the Lion of Judah, and they believed they were looking at him. Selassie never declared himself divine, but he understood the weight of ancestry. Bloodlines matter, and now science has stepped in. Genetic studies of Ethiopians reveal ancient DNA from the Levant. Modern Israel and Syria dating back about 3,000 years. A real migration, real people, real movement from Jerusalem into Ethiopia. The legends weren't legends. This explains why Ethiopian Christianity feels so different. They kept Jewish laws, dietary rules, circumcision on the 8th day, the Saturday Sabbath. Their faith is a seamless blend of old and new, what Christianity might have looked like before Rome reshaped it. They didn't need conversion, they were already insiders. Which brings us to the most controversial idea of all. Some ancient texts suggest Jesus didn't die on the cross. If he escaped, Ethiopia would have been the safest place on earth, a kingdom ruled by his own extended family. And in the remote highlands, oral traditions still speak of a mysterious teacher from the north, a healer, a man of peace. They don't call him Jesus. They call him this righteous teacher. Is it possible the West has been digging in the wrong land all along? Maybe the real legacy of Jesus isn't buried in Galilee, but living on in Africa. As Ethiopian monks say, the West has the water. We have the well. The watchers are coming back. And the timing isn't random. So ask yourself this. Why now? Why are these texts surfacing after 2,000 years of silence? For centuries, they sat hidden in mountain monasteries, wrapped in goatskin, guarded by men who would die before letting outsiders touch them. They survived insect wars and empires. Total lockdown. Then suddenly, everything breaks open. In just the last few years, these books explode online. Unauthorized translations, spread faster than scholars, can shut them down. The YouTube algorithm pushes them to millions. And you're hearing about the Book of the Covenant between a meme and a news clip. That's not an accident. According to the most radical readings, these texts contain a built-in emergency trigger for humanity, a final fail-safe one that only activates at a very specific moment in history. They describe the end times as an age of webs of illusion. In the original language, it means a world that is hyper-connected but fake, where people speak without mouths and see without eyes. Tell me that doesn't sound like the internet or artificial intelligence. The theory is chilling. Ethiopian monks weren't just guarding scripture. They were guarding the break glass manual for the digital age. The prophecy says, when humanity is lost inside false realities, the hidden truth must be released to shatter the illusion. And look around. No one trusts governments. No one trusts the media. And faith in organized religion is collapsing. People aren't hungry for food. They're starving for meaning. They don't want priests or platforms. They want direct knowledge. That's why these texts hit like gasoline on a fire. They validate a feeling millions have carried since childhood. That something was missing. That the story was edited. That Sunday school taught the safe version. Here's the controversial idea. The Council of Nika didn't just remove books to simplify the Bible. They removed them to disarm us. The Ethiopian texts describe humans not as weak followers, but as powerful beings trapped in a cosmic war. They talk openly about the Watchers, fallen entities, who altered humanity, and about ancient technologies we're only now rediscovering. By deleting those books, the West erased our armor. But Ethiopia never complied. They kept the full version while the rest of the world got the downgrade. And here's where it gets unsettling. These manuscripts don't read like poetry alone. Some sections look like lost physics. Researchers point to references that resemble acoustic levitation, using sound to manipulate matter. Look at Libella. Those churches weren't built. They were carved straight down into solid rock. Legends say angels helped at night. But what if angels was just ancient language for a forgotten technology? Sound frequencies that soften stone. If that's true, the Book of the Covenant isn't just spiritual, it's technical. It could explain the pyramids, the Mana machine, even the Ark of the Covenant, which Ethiopia claims is real and heavily guarded in Axum. And if current translations reveal how these systems worked, then this isn't a religious revival. It's the return of pre-flood science. So here's the question that should haunt you. If emperors edited history to control the past, what else are they still hiding? Are you ready to read the forbidden chapters? Or is the truth too dangerous? Hit like if you want more hidden history and subscribe to join the search for what was never meant to be.